You've gotta love a good platformer. You know, those games where you have to get from point A to point B without meeting your untimely demise. They're a tried and true staple of video games dating back to the infancy of the medium. While the genre isn't as prolific as it used to be, the torch is still carried, mostly by independent developers, many of whom likely grew up playing the platformers of yesteryear. Regardless of the different mechanics, enemies, and worlds with which these games experiment, there tends to be one consistent rule: don't fall down. No matter what, falling into lava, spikes, or just a bottomless pit usually spells the end for whomever you may be controlling. Enter Downwell. Developed by Ojiro Fumoto, Downwell is a game in which the only way to progress is, well, down. It's a mechanic that runs in stark contrast to many of its contemporaries and predecessors, but is it a gameplay decision that makes the descent worth taking? You play as an unnamed protagonist who, for reasons initially unclear, decides to sacrifice his relaxed life on the surface in the interest of reaching the bottom of a decidedly deep well. You'll have to reach the end of the game to figure out why he makes the jump, but if you intend to play Downwell for a compelling narrative, I'd recommend you look elsewhere. There's really no story on display here, as this game is generally light on the frills. If you've come to play Downwell, you're here for the gameplay. From the get-go, Downwell thrusts you into a fast-paced, moment-to-moment experience. No matter what, you're generally always moving downward. You can jump, but the platforms upon which you can land are usually spaced far enough apart that there's no going back up once you jump off. Aspirations to take your time are quickly cast aside as a mob of enemies aggressively closes in. You're certifiably outnumbered, but not defenseless, as our protagonist is equipped with what appears to be shoe guns. They're effective, powerful weapons, but they can't shoot up, only down, further encouraging you to keep it moving. The recoil of the shots allows you to sort of float momentarily, but the guns have to be constantly reloaded. In order to do so, you have to land on either a platform or an enemy, which will automatically replenish your ammo. It doesn't take long to see that the core gameplay mechanics are designed to keep things frenetic and prevent you from spending too much time planning your next move. You are falling down a well, after all. Despite the breakneck pace, you can garner a few moments of reprieve. Scattered throughout each level are a few side rooms that pause the action and freeze the enemies. These rooms contain power-ups that allow you to increase your maximum health or ammo capacity. The catch is, each power-up also switches the type of shot that you're firing. Each shot type adds a different wrinkle to combat. For example, laser emits massive beams with fantastic range, but can only be fired a few times before a reload is necessary. Nappy fires quicker, short-range shots that you can control the direction of, but their relative range is limited. All 6 shot types are viable. Games often contain some dud weapons that I try to avoid, but that's not the case here, which is especially good considering that Downwell is deciding which one you have access to at any given time. Most levels also feature shops, operated by some sort of marshmallow-looking fella, where you can purchase additional health and ammo upgrades using gems that you acquire from killing enemies. The gunplay of Downwell feels incredible. The rhythm of shooting and spelunking is pitch perfect. Regardless of which shot type you're using, combat features a tangible punch that makes each enemy kill feel distinctly satisfying. To encourage precise platforming, a combo builds as you kill enemies without landing on a platform. Landing on enemies doesn't break it, you just have to avoid solid ground. High combos reward you with gems, as well as health and ammo upgrades. I often ignore combo mechanics in games, but it behooves you to pay attention in Downwell, as this is no walk in the park. This game's going to take some practice. A successful run only takes about 30 minutes, but it's likely to take at least a few hours of failure before you achieve one of those. To help offset the difficulty, Downwell rewards you with an upgrade each time you complete one of the game's 12 main levels. Knife and Fork, for example, allows you to consume the bodies of defeated enemies for a chance of gaining back some health. Gem Powered enables gems to replenish your ammo. After just a few playthroughs, you'll start to lean on old favorites, but it's worth experimenting with all the upgrades. Since every level is procedurally generated, you never know exactly what you'll be up against. As you fall further down, the foes you face only grow stranger. You'll initially fight bats and giant snails, but eventually have to deal with skeletons and even squids. If there's one word to describe Downwell's presentation, it's retro. This is pretty plain to see, as it almost looks like it could be a long-forgotten Game Boy called Classic. It's a very simplistic style that likely won't appeal to everybody, but like many indie titles imitating the looks of yesteryear, it employs some modern visual flair that wouldn't have been possible back in the day. The audio evokes the same nostalgia, with an appropriately upbeat chiptune soundtrack and 8-bit sound effects. It's fun to see the game's small selection of different environments with such an old-school look, and as you've likely seen plenty of in this footage, you can also unlock palette swaps for some much-needed visual variety. Downwell keeps it simple. The focus here is on fast-paced, addictive gameplay that keeps you coming back for just one more run. It's tough. If you're looking for a walk in the park, look elsewhere. It's also light on content. If the core of the experience doesn't hook you, there's really nowhere else to turn, but what is here has been buffed to a fine sheen. If you're looking for your next great, bite-sized roguelike, then jump in, get shooting, and hope you make it to the bottom.